Hi everyone. Hello. We're live with my very good friend Marianna Schwartsman. She's a trust and estate planning attorney, a guru of the highest level. She's the one I sometimes call when I have very easy for her but hard for me questions. And of course, my name is on the screen, Marina Shepelsky. We noticed in our practice, especially when we work with people getting divorced or going through separation or family law situations, that many people have no trust and no estate planning in place whatsoever. Zero, including myself. I still don't have a will. Even a simple one. And in our age group, 30 and above, it's not a problem, but like it is a problem, actually. I'll take the back. It's a problem. And people, first of all, don't have it in place. And second of all, they have no idea why they even need it. Like life insurance. Until somebody explained to me why I need it, I didn't think it was that important. And when somebody explained to me that, here you are, somebody who has income, makes money, and drops dead one day. What are you kids going to do, right? That kind of thing brought into my mind what life insurance is about. And this is kind of like that. So we want to ask you some questions about things like what is a trust, basic stuff, because some people don't even know basic things like that. What is a trust? What kind of unusual and interesting things you do for your estate planning? I know you mentioned to me when we were talking on the phone about this, that you even go to other states sometimes to make a better tax planning, decision for your clients. And I made a list of questions that I posted right in this post when I talked about our seminar, which I'm sure you'll answer, but I also want to talk about a lot more. So I'm going to give you the mic, Ms. Schwartsman, and you tell us what you do generally in your firm. We'll start there.
Of course. Marina, so before we even go there, I guess I have my first client, and it's going to be you.
Yes.
You just said that you don't know. Okay, so from a marketing standpoint of view, this presentation, this collaboration already worked. I got my first client. Thank you.
It did.
Yes. Marina, first of all, thank you very much for, coming up with this wonderful idea, this collaboration, this working together, us female lawyers, giving the best service possible to our clients. That's what it's all about. And I thank you for coming up with this wonderful video broadcast idea and inviting me here. So first off, I'm a trust and estates attorney, and what that means is I do planning for individuals, for entire families. Sometimes it can be somebody single who comes and says, I'm not really married. I don't really plan on getting married. I don't have kids. I am charitably inclined. I'm interested in creating something that will eventually go into the public domain or to a specific charity. And sometimes I have a multi-generation planning situation where I have grandpa, grandma, kids, and then grandkids already participating in a family venture together, investing together, or doing business together. And that becomes a sort of a multi-generational planning event, which is fantastic. And I love being a part of this practice because it is very personal to people, what I do, and I try to help. I try to listen. Listening to clients, as you very well aware of that, is an extremely important thing as to what we do. Figuring out if possible conflict, if possible litigation is on the death of a older generation, something, is there something brewing there, maybe a fight between siblings or something. So it's a very diverse and it's a fantastic practice. So that is what we do for planning. We also do estate administration, and this is what really happens, when all that planning plays out, person dies, what do we do next? So being on both sides of this practice, on before death and after death, sort of similar for you, before divorce, after divorce,
Yeah, absolutely.
It really gives me a great perspective as to what can be done before the person is eventually, passes into the other realm, and how to make this transition easier on his or her family, on his or her loved ones. Okay, because not only they're dealing with this grief, it's an awful thing to lose a loved one. But if things weren't really taken care of while the person was alive, or were not taken care of in the best possible way, it means that on top of this emotional burden, they have this paperwork burden. Okay, what do? We run to the court, we file all of these tax papers, tax filings, and everything. So that's why I believe that every planner betters his or her practice by also practicing on the estate administration and the tax side, the after death side. So we offer both services. Now, you you brought me in because you had a couple of very, very, very different clients asking you questions that pretty much had to do with my area of practice. What's a trust? Do I need a trust? Why do I need
Yeah.
a will? I am only 40. Why do I need a will?
Yeah. And
Why
sometimes
do you?
people who are getting divorced, they'll call me and say they just lost a parent. It happens. Some divorces take a while. While it's happening, somebody's parent dies, and they go, "Oh my God, what do I do? I just lost a parent." They had a safe deposit box that turns out to have like 75,000 in cash in it, and now they can't even open it. The bank can't open it. What do I do? And I usually refer to someone who does this, like yourself, because I really don't know myself what to do, because you can't know everything. Our areas of concentration are migration and divorce. So when somebody loses a parent and there's a house, or maybe no house, or just some bank accounts, or a co-op apartment that was in the parents' names with their spouse, all kinds of things come up. So I would like for you to even tell us, what is a trust before we even get into how to inherit a trust. What is a trust?
Yeah. What's a trust? What's a trust? Trust is a legal person. It's a made-up entity. What's a corporation? It's an entity. It's a legal entity, legal person that is created by certain mechanism under the law. Okay. A trust is also a legal person that is created under a certain mechanism that the New York state law, under the SCPL, the SCPA, the EPTL, it allows us to create this entity, and it specifies, it has to be in writing, it has to have a grantor, it has to have a trustee, it has to have a res is a corpus. So it's a person. It's a person.
Why does somebody need another person to
Yeah.
own their stuff?
Well, yes. So that's a very good question. If another person owns your stuff, you don't own it. Right? So now, what's interesting about trusts and what's fascinating about trusts is that it's an entity created by an agreement. So you can tailor that agreement to your specific need. It's an agreement between the settlor or the grantor or the creator of the trust. Let's speak English, okay? It's an agreement between the person who creates that trust and a trustee, a person who takes on a really big legal responsibility for
and the job. It's like
and
a
the
job.
It's a job. It's a huge obligation,
A
huge
trustee
responsibility.
is a job.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. I always tell people, do not take it lightly. Don't take it lightly. Okay, you are accountable. You are accountable to New York courts. You are accountable to the Attorney General. You are accountable to the Inspector General. It is a job. It's a huge responsibility and an obligation. And your duties as trustee are laid out in that trust agreement and, of course, in the law. Okay, now the trust agreement creates a trust. So some people come to me and they bring this. That's my trust. Okay, no, that's not your trust. This is a trust agreement. It could have created, maybe this is what created your trust, and it could have created more than one. Guess what? Most of my trust agreements create more than one. There is
Wow.
an initial trust. You, Marina, created a trust, a living trust, a revocable trust, meaning that you could take it back and change it and do whatever you wanted with it while you were alive. You created that trust for the benefit of yourself while you were alive.
So
That's
you can
the
have this
initial trust.
agreement with yourself. You can have a trust agreement with
With
yourself.
yourself. Yes, yes. So you, Marina, as individual, and you, Marina, as initial trustee, created this trust, this person, to hold your property while you were alive. We specify what are the terms and conditions. You can do whatever you want. The
But what are
trustee
the
pays
things
out
that
whatever
people
you
do
want.
want? What are some
You,
common things that people want?
okay, you want to
Because I
sell
want
your
to move to
house?
Bali and work
Yeah,
on the
you want to
beach
sell
there.
your house and move to
That's what I
Bali.
want.
You want to sell your jewelry and buy yourself a brand new car. You want to sell your car and buy yourself some art, and you can do all of that from within your trust. You want to sell your art and pay for your vacation. You want to take money out. You want to invest into a brokerage account. You want to
Mhm.
keep all your money as cash. Fantastic. You want to invest it into an annuity. Brilliant. You do what it is that you
So,
want.
so the trust defines what you will do with what's inside the bank accounts, the house, the cash,
Yes.
the jewelry.
Yes.
So,
Now,
and the reason why is it? Is it like a hiding place? Is the trust like a hiding place?
not a hiding place, not a hiding place, but if you fund that trust, and that is a very important point, and that is where I'm going to pause and I'm going to finish the sentence and then come back to it, okay? So, if you funded the trust is the new owner. If you put your house into the trust is the owner. You're no longer the owner.
Right.
You may be a trustee who continues to manage the property and run the property that was placed into the trust, but the trust is a new owner. It's no longer Marina Shepelsky. It is Marina Shepelsky Living Trust, right? So
So if
we
a
have that
client
trust.
sues me, God forbid, if a real estate client, something went wrong with the transaction, God forbid, and decides to sue Marina Shepelsky
Yeah,
personally, because
yeah.
that's happened to me and some of my colleagues and doctors
Oh, it happens
and
all the
other
time.
people who get
Doctors, yes,
sued.
yes, of course.
What happens? Now I don't even own this house anymore. My trust owns it, so I have nothing, for example.
I have
Right?
bad news for you, Marina. I have very bad news for you,
Oh
Marina.
no.
New York law specifically states, we have a statute, that a self-settled trust for the benefit of oneself does not protect you from creditors. More than that, it's a very broad law, and you as a lawyer will appreciate how broad it is. It specifically states that it does not protect you from current known creditors, also
Hmm.
from unknown creditors, does not
I
protect,
see.
or
So
any future creditors. Any future creditors. You cannot have a self-settled trust, even if you make it irrevocable. Let's say it's completely irrevocable, okay? And let's say you have an independent trustee. Let's say Marina is no longer a trustee of her trust,
yeah,
and the
like I
trust is
make my
fully
daughter a
discretionary.
trustee when she's 18. Right.
Yeah, yeah. Let's say your daughter's a trustee and she's an independent trustee and she decides in her sole discretion as to whether or not pay for Marina's vacation to Bali. Okay. Um, you still cannot have that trust as an asset protection trust here in New York.
It's not
Some
going to
other
protect me from
jurisdictions,
lawsuit. I got
yeah,
it.
yeah. It's a self-settled
It's good
trust
to
created
know
for your
because
benefit.
even though I'm an attorney, I never knew all these intricacies. I mean, I had trust on the bar like you did, and that was the last time I looked at it really like closely. Although I have done some of the Medicaid trusts, and you can talk about that better than me in the past, but it's gotten so complicated, especially with COVID. Letting them know you have to be a specialist. I hate to say this word; it's probably not so ethical. You have to have a concentration in this to
Oh,
know
always.
how to do the Medicaid trust, how to make a trust, protect your assets, unlike the scenario we just did, right? Like you want to
Yeah.
protect your house. That's not a good idea to do a self-settled trust, as we all learned, to protect yourself from lawsuits. So these are the
Well,
kinds
let
of
me
things
go
we need
back. Let me
Mariana
go back.
for.
If you don't mind, I want to go back and I want to discuss a very common issue and a common problem that I see with planning routinely done. People have these wonderful ideas. They create these living trusts, and why create a living trust, right? It's
Yeah,
still
why
you
do it?
running it.
Yeah.
People can sue you, get your property. It is still taxed to you. It's includable in your gross estate when you die for tax purposes, right? Both federal and New York. Same goes for Jersey. Well, Jersey just, Jersey doesn't have estate taxes anymore, thank God. Good for Jerseyans.
My new home
Yes, yes,
state.
yes, yes, yes. But you see, why have it? Well, think of it that way. Um, it's a will that you fund while you're alive, in a way. Okay, so
Yeah.
whatever you put into your living trust does not go through your probate. Okay, so meaning it's an asset that passes outside of your probate. Okay, so if you put everything that you owed into that living trust while you were alive, okay, then when you are gone, your kids don't have to go to court to probate. Right there and then they can start managing that trust right there and then. They are already trustees. They don't have to get letters testamentary. They don't have to get letters of appointment. They don't have to, one of them can resign. They don't have to go to court to get a permission to resign. They don't have to be bonded. They don't have to go through any of this. Okay, so
Okay.
it's a private trust. It's an inter vivos trust that was created while the grantor was still alive, and that just continues under the terms and conditions of that agreement. So if the agreement provides that on Marina's or somebody else's death, parents' death, everything goes to kids. How? Outright or in a continuing trust? Remember when I said that one
Yeah.
trust agreement, one agreement may create more than one
Two
trust.
trusts. Yeah.
Not only two, 1,500, whatever,
Wow.
right? So you can have, you have three kids. On the death of a parent, it continues in three separate trusts for the lifetime benefit of these three children. Okay, on their deaths, it's going to continue in continuing new trusts for the benefit of the grandchildren.
Divorce lawyer question. What if
Yes,
I had a trust like that set up for my kids, and God bless them, but one of them meets a bad guy and they
well,
get married, and she has this trust? Can he divorce her and take half of this stuff that's in the trust for her?
well, depending obviously on how the trust is set up under the magic trust agreement. Um, we draft our trust as spendthrift trusts. Beneficiaries don't have control over those trusts, and therefore those trusts are not reachable by creditors and divorcing spouses. Okay, so I always recommend that children appoint independent trustees to co-act with them. So let's say your daughter appoints her accountant, and he's a independent trustee who acts co-acts as a trustee
Or
of
like an
her
aunt,
continuing trust,
their aunt or an
into which,
uncle.
say that again.
You could be an aunt or an uncle,
Oh,
right? It could
yeah,
be another
yeah,
family
yeah, an
member.
independent trustee. So let's say we have that situation, and then she's going through a divorce. Not only she doesn't have that stress of worrying, is my divorcing husband going to walk away with 50% of my own stuff, okay, my own asset. But if you going to walk away with 50% of my inheritance, the stuff that, the assets that my parents worked so hard and accumulated and passed down to me on their deaths. So this type of trust would protect your children from
This also
future
comes up a
creditor
lot.
issues. Not only
Because
divorces. What if
my
your child,
clients,
God
so my
bless the
clients
child, is
sometimes get
adopted?
in, yeah, my clients sometimes get inheritances during the process of divorce or even before. Like they'll say, my mom just died, I inherited a house, and now my wife is saying she's entitled to one half of that house, because it was during the marriage. And it's a difficult legal question for me to resolve, because on the one hand, it's an inheritance that's personal to someone, but on the other hand, marriage is a contract. So we share everything that I receive, even personally, like my salary and things like that, during the marriage. Perhaps it's a good idea for parents to now set up trusts for their kids, intervivus, living trust, when you're still alive. Set up a trust. This way you can have the comfort of knowing your child, your adult child, their grown-up child, is not going to have to share what you worked so hard with their bad spouse, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
You never know when you're gonna die.
Yeah.
We can't plan for that. We are planners, but we cannot plan for that. Now, that means that that inheritance, if it is going outright to your child, it can hit their bank account, or it can hit them at the most inappropriate time. And what do we know from law? From law, let's say, for example, just to give you an example, we know that real property that is specifically willed, bequeathed to someone, to an individual in New York State, is pretty much immediately, almost immediately theirs, right?
Yeah.
So the real property tax is their responsibility. It's not even an estate expense. It's a lot of these, so it's theirs. And now I'm a doctor, I'm being sued by a disgruntled patient, or by somebody
Yeah.
unhappy who I provided service to, or by an employee of mine. I'm being sued, and there is personal liability that comes with it. And now all of a sudden I lost a parent, and not only I am emotionally broke, but I am also concerned because this house in the will passed direct to me.
Yeah. Yeah. If you
Right.
have small kids, what would you do? What's like let's say you're like a regular couple, you're married, you're in your 30s or 40s, and you have a house and you have small kids. People have kids now in much older age. This is very common. So you're in your 30s or 40s and your kids are still under 18, and you have nothing. Like, you have no planning at all in place. Where would you start with clients like this?
I would first off start by explaining that if you don't have a designation of a guardian, if you don't have a designation of who is going to take care of your children, God forbid something happens to the two of you, it's going to be a nightmare for your family and for your kids. Your kids may end up in foster care for a period of time, and it's going to be a traumatic experience. And your grandparents, your parents, your husband's parents may be absolutely wonderful, brilliant people, but you're putting them in a very complex situation where they may be forced to fight for the guardianship of their grandchildren.
Yeah.
Or your siblings. You have a brother and a sister. They're going to fight for the guardianship of their kids. I say start with those very basic things. Appoint each other as your healthcare proxies. It's
In your
very important.
will. You're saying start with the will.
And have a will.
Will and healthcare proxy.
Designation of guardians for your kids. Start with the appointment of executors. And then, very important, let's look at how your assets are titled. Okay, you are married, but well, I actually bought this house in the Hamptons before our marriage. I was single. I never changed the deed. My wife is not on that deed. So now I'm going to die, and she's going to have to run to probate court with my will, because the fact that I put her as executor in my will doesn't mean anything. I just designated her someone who I wanted to be my executor, but the court actually appoints. This is something very important for people to realize. They come to me and I am the executor. Well, you mean your parents wanted you to be the executor, and that's what they put in the will. You're not the executor yet.
Yeah.
Because the court may feel otherwise. If you have a felony offense, guess what? The court is not going to appoint you. You cannot be appointed if you had a felony offense in
Yep.
your past, okay? Unless we offer some mitigating evidence, okay? So look, and
So
on top of
a
everything,
basic parent unit, a basic couple should have a
yes,
will and a healthcare proxy in place, designating a guardian for minor kids, for little kids, designating, in other words, naming in the will who will be the executor, or I sometimes say the manager of your will, who is actually going to write checks and go somewhere and talk to people and answer
pay
the
your
phone
taxes
and then
and
pay
take
taxes,
care of
like the
retitling the property.
administrator,
Yeah,
the person administering or managing, or doing the work of managing your estate. That's an executor. If it's a lady, it's an executrix. You should have a basic will, but maybe you want to go further and think about your kids who will be marrying in the future and protecting things that you want to leave for them, and think about a living trust and putting the house in the trust for your kids, creating the sub trust in the
of
trust.
course.
And that is so complex that you absolutely 100% need to call Marianna and discuss your situation with her, because I'm a single parent and my spouse now is not the father of my 3 kids. So, guess what? There's going to be some sort of a fight if we both die, between his kids that are separate and my kids, and what other heirs that we don't even know about might suddenly think they have rights to what we worked so hard to make during our lives, right? So
Yes,
that's something where trust also might help, I think, right?
yes.
Um, and
You also
so,
need to
yeah,
consider. You also need to consider such things as all of a sudden a family unit just lost a member, and it's also a financial catastrophe for many families. If the unit had two income producing parents or income earners, the burden may be somewhat less, but nonetheless, losing 50% of an income stream for a family with children, with a mortgage, with other obligations, with college debt, with all of that, with a leased car and everything, is
it's a major loss and it changes
major
your life.
loss, and it is,
Yeah.
yeah, it devastates you, and then psychologically, and then but then imagine a situation where one of the spouses did not work and was a stay-home parent taking care of the children. And what if in that situation the income earner dies, an accident, you know um it's a travesty. It's a tragedy. Okay. Think of that. Now, this is where life insurance policy placed into a life insurance trust would provide immediate access to liquidity to alleviate the burden. Taking care of your final taxes, taking care of estate taxes, if there are any, taking care of administration expenses. Oh, where do I get money to pay for my property taxes? Some places have very high property taxes. In Brooklyn, we're a little bit lucky, our property taxes aren't that crazy high, but there are places, $20,000-$30,000 of property taxes you pay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so things like that, you have to think through. You go in front, you sit with a planner, and trust me, if the planner is not asking you all of these questions, he or she is not doing his or her job.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
not really working for
And,
you.
and,
They're
and
spitting out a form
yeah.
document, and
Yeah.
that's it. That's what they do.
And
Okay.
also, my position is, besides even all this that you mentioned, uh, people should also remember you might not die in a horrible accident, but you might become paralyzed and unable to speak and make legal decisions. And what's going to happen to your family then? That's another
Of
thing to be
course.
discussed in a will.
Incapacity. Yes, of course.
Incapacity, like, God forbid, you don't, something terrible happens unplanned, but you didn't die. You are still technically alive and breathing, but you're not able to make any decisions. Number one. Number two, the loss of your income is also going to be a big hit. Not just the loss of you. Obviously, you are important and a big part of your family, but the loss of your income. No longer you're working and making money, and they could have been self-employed and didn't have life insurance to work, or disability insurance work. Disability insurance is another thing that I want to bring up. I mean, this is our seminar talking about our legal services, But at the same time, we have to mention short-term and long-term disability insurance for people who are especially self-employed, or if you are the only breadwinner in your family and God forbid something happens to you, your family will suffer and you won't even know it because you might be somewhere, incapacitated. So please, before even, doing anything, consider getting short-term and long-term disability for yourself. A will, definitely a trust for many
Healthcare
people,
proxy,
right?
power of attorney, a designation of a standby guardian, a living will if that is your wish and you don't want to be kept artificially alive. That document is called a living will or last directive, something of that sort. Yes, these things, and get yourself in front of a good planner, someone who you will see asks and touches on all of these different areas of your life. Okay, that's a good holistic planner.
Yeah, I agree. I think we want to wrap up. We're already at 31 minutes in our show, even though we agreed to do 30. And I always run over because I get so many questions as the person who's talking, right? We obviously covered most of the things that we wanted to cover, but we didn't even touch upon many very important things. If you think that you need a estate planner, please call Marianna and schedule a consultation and look at your individual consultation. You can call us. We'll put you in touch with Marianna. You can call her directly. Everyone has a very special and unique situation that might require more or less work. People who don't have little kids don't need the guardian set up, but they might need estate planning. Remember about taxes and how you want to take care of your kids and make sure they don't pay a lot of taxes when you die, which they might have to if you have a lot of things, which hopefully you do. Have a wonderful week. Again, make sure that you have your family taken care of and yourself for any event, and just be healthy and have a great day.
Yes, stay well, and thank you, Marina, for having me. And if you call and you mention this live collaboration event that you watched, we offer a special for all of those who are our audience today. So, Marina, thank you so very much. Take care of your loved ones, take care of yourselves, stay well, and stay safe.
Bye, everyone. Mention the discount that we spoke and you watched the show, and see you soon. Bye-bye.